The average sentiment amongst retail traders is that the entire altcoin market is going to continue to drop for the rest of 2026 because they believe that we are in a standard 4-year halving cycle. And although the prices of these assets have been following that cycle so far, I believe it is very important to realize that price action is never certain in crypto and that these coins could end up shocking everybody and doing the complete opposite of that. And in the case of Litecoin, I believe that that is a real possibility. When you take a look at the chart, we have had quite a bit of bearish price action for the past couple of months, as we have fallen from $130 in late 2025 all the way down to $55, which is where we currently sit. But one thing that I do think is very bullish about Litecoin in particular is the fact that it is holding up relatively well compared to the rest of the altcoin market. The majority of the altcoin space has fallen 80 to 90% in this same period, and Litecoin is only down about 56%. So in reality, for an altcoin, this is actually doing quite well, and I think that that does go to show that this project will have a very nice bull run the next time we get bullish momentum in the crypto space. Another thing that I think is very bullish about Litecoin is the fact that they are continuing to build behind the scenes. Now, I know I did mention these things in my last Litecoin video, but I wanted to re-mention them because I do believe this is very bullish for the overall narrative. And debatably the most important is the fact that Litecoin is continuing to work on their testnet for LitVM, which is an EV compatible layer 2 solution that will enable smart contracts and DeFi capabilities on top of the Litecoin network. This development aims to diversify Litecoin's use case beyond just payments. I believe that this is incredibly bullish and an important direction for Litecoin to take in order to stay relevant amongst the other layer 1s in the space. So if people do actually start using these smart contracts, I could easily see Litecoin re-entering the top 10 in the crypto space, which would be about a 2.5x on your investment from these current levels. Also guys, there is a lot of optimism that is starting to build around the fact that it is very likely that Litecoin will have a spot ETF approved at some point in 2026, and some analysts are estimating that there is a 90 to 95% likelihood that this will be the case. Now, as I've mentioned for many other altcoins, I think that once this ETF is released, it probably will not do well out of the gates, but once optimism and euphoria returns to the crypto market, I do believe this will be a very bullish catalyst and yet another way that people can invest into Litecoin. And of course, the more money that flows into Litecoin through institutions, the better it is for overall price action. Another thing that I found quite interesting is the fact that a NASDAQ listed drug maker called MEI Pharma has announced plans to invest $100 million into Litecoin. And although $100 million might not sound like a lot of money for crypto, I do believe that this is a very bullish move, and hopefully other large institutions follow suit and start to invest large amounts of money into Litecoin. And if that does end up being the case, I could easily see Litecoin starting to appreciate at a very quick pace. Alright, and then the last thing I wanted to talk about is the fact that Litecoin is working on implementing more privacy features to their blockchain through the Mimblewimble extension block. I also think that this is a very bullish thing for the overall Litecoin narrative because the privacy space has been very hot in crypto. As most of you know, coins like Zcash and ICP that have an emphasis on privacy had incredibly parabolic runs at late 2025. So if that narrative does remain hot for the next bull run, which I believe it will, this will undoubtedly help Litecoin gain a lot of traction in the overall space. So going back to the chart, if Litecoin is able to deliver on all of these promises and the overall crypto market starts to gain bullish momentum, I could easily see this coin appreciating to anywhere between a $20 to $30 billion market cap. And if that is the case, you could reasonably 5 to 8x your money if you are investing at these levels. But guys, please understand that of course we could continue to drop because there is still a lot of uncertainty surrounding the overall macro economy, but I do believe dollar cost averaging at these significant discounts is still a fantastic idea. Alright, so let's go ahead and shift our focus to the overall macro economy because I do believe that that is what's dictating this market. And as you can see here, we had a massive announcement regarding Trump's tariffs this morning as the Supreme Court has officially deemed them illegal. But the crazy thing is Trump is not backing down. In fact, he has announced new tariffs today after this ruling, and he has has stated that he plans to continue to enforce his tariffs and does not plan on refunding any of the money. So I believe that the market has overall mixed opinions on this. I don't think it's great to see that we are now imposing 10% global tariffs on top of what's already enforced. I do believe that that could end up causing more volatility for the market, but I do think at the same time the market might be a bit relieved that we do not have to refund that large sum of money that we have already taken from these countries. So I'm not going to get too in depth into this situation in this video, but just understand that this is causing a lot of uncertainty for the overall market. The next thing that I wanted to talk about that is also causing a lot of short-term fear is the United States and Iran situation. In my video from yesterday, I said that it is very likely that the United States will end up sending military strikes to Iran, and it is very possible it could take place either tonight or sometime this weekend. And as you can see here, Germany has declared its citizens must evacuate from Iran immediately. So yeah, it does seem like this is very likely going to happen. The good news is though, I believe that a lot of this is already priced into the market. So as long as nothing incredibly bad happens that is unexpected by markets, I don't believe that this will cause much more downwards price action. But of course, if we do go into like a prolonged war situation with Iran, I don't expect that to be good in the short term for the market. But guys, I think that it is very important to zoom out and not focus on these short-term FUD events because they always do clear themselves up. And I believe that if you are panic selling because of these situations, you have the wrong mentality. I think that it is very important to think like a smart investor and zoom out and focus on what's happening in the overall macro economy. What I'm taking a look at here is the CME Group FedWatch tool, which predicts future rate cut decisions. And as you can see here, there is a very high likelihood that we will either cut rates 2 or potentially 3 times before the end of the year. Now, there is a famous quote in investing that you should never fight the Fed, and I don't believe that this time will be any different. Historically, when we've seen the Federal Reserve cut interest rates and actively buy back treasury bills, we have always seen bullish times in markets. So yes, in my opinion, it is very possible that we could continue to drop for the overall crypto market in the coming weeks to months. But overall, guys, I expect that at some point in 2026, we will see a very sharp reversal for the overall crypto market, and I do expect that that move will catch a lot of people off guard and on the sidelines. So personally, guys, I'm going to continue to dollar cost average into strong altcoins like Litecoin, and I think that it will pay off quite nicely once a lot of this FUD starts to subside. And these dips are painful and they do seem like they will never end, but take it from someone that's been in the crypto space for nearly 5 years now, these dips always end regardless of how bad they seem, and this one will be no different. But alright guys, I hope that you all have a fantastic weekend, and I'll be back tomorrow. Peace.